First contact and underestimation. The Galvan Empire had ruled the Milky Way for millennia, their advanced technology and superior biology making them the undisputed masters of countless star systems. When their long-range scouts first detected radio signals from a small blue planet in an unremarkable spiral arm, they barely took notice. It was Supreme Commander Zixlor who made the fateful decision to investigate, more out of boredom than genuine interest. As the massive Galvan mothership entered Earth's solar system, cloaked from human detection, Zixlor observed the primitive civilization with a mixture of amusement and contempt. These bipedal creatures, with their fragile bodies and quaint fossil fuel-powered vehicles, seemed hardly worth the effort of conquest. Still, protocol demanded a thorough assessment before deciding whether to incorporate this world into the Empire or simply obliterate it for resources. "Prepare a reconnaissance team," Zixlor ordered, his tentacles writhing with anticipation. "Let's see what these humans are truly capable of." The Galvan infiltrators, disguised using advanced holographic technology, easily blended into human society. They marveled at the inefficiency of Earth's governments, the wastefulness of its industries, and the constant infighting among its nations. Reports flooded back to the mothership, each more dismissive than the last. "These humans are barely out of their stone age," one agent reported. "They've only just begun to explore their own moon, let alone venture into deep space." Zixlor's mandibles clicked in amusement. "And their weapons? Surely they have some redeeming qualities in combat." The agent's response was filled with derision. "Primitive projectile weapons and crude explosives. Nothing that could penetrate even our weakest shields." As the days turned to weeks, the Galvan became increasingly confident in their assessment. Humans were weak, divided, and technologically inferior. The conquest of Earth would be little more than a training exercise for their youngest warriors. Zixlor made his decision. "Prepare the invasion fleet. We'll give these humans a chance to surrender, but I doubt they'll be intelligent enough to take it." The day of first contact arrived with little fanfare. Galvan ships decloaked in the skies above every major human city, their imposing silhouettes blotting out the sun. Zixlor's face appeared on every screen and device across the globe, his alien features causing panic in the streets. "People of Earth," he began, his voice translated into every human language simultaneously. "I am Supreme Commander Zixlor of the Galvan Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. Surrender peacefully, and you may live as our subjects. Resist, and you will be annihilated." The response was not what the Galvan expected. Instead of immediate capitulation, the humans reacted with a mixture of fear, defiance, and curiosity. Some humans ran screaming. Others stood their ground, weapons drawn. But a surprising number simply stared in wonder, their primitive communication devices raised to capture images of the alien ships. In the United Nations, an emergency session was called. Representatives from every nation argued fiercely about how to respond. The Galvan watched with amusement, certain that this chaos would lead to an easy victory. But then something unexpected happened. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a brilliant physicist who had been working on experimental defense systems, stepped up to the podium. Her voice, calm and determined, cut through the panic. "We are not as helpless as they believe," she declared. "For years, we've been preparing for this possibility. It's time to show these aliens what humanity is truly capable of." In secret facilities around the world, long-dormant projects sprang to life. Weapons that defied the laws of physics as the Galvan understood them were activated. Shields that could withstand the heat of a star enveloped key cities. And in orbit, a fleet of ships that had been disguised as space junk suddenly came online, their designs a perfect fusion of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology from crashed UFOs. Zixlor watched in disbelief as his initial attacks were repelled with ease. The humans, it seemed, had been playing possum. Their apparent weakness had been a carefully constructed facade, hiding a level of advancement that rivaled the Galvan's own. As the first wave of Galvan ships fell from the sky, Zixlor felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. He had underestimated these humans, and now he was about to learn just how costly that mistake would be. The invasion had begun, but not in the way the Galvan had planned. Humanity, united in the face of an existential threat, was about to show the galaxy why they were a force to be reckoned with. The age of human ascension had dawned, and the Galvan Empire was about to face its greatest challenge yet. Human ingenuity unveiled. The skies above Earth crackled with energy as Galvan and human ships engaged in fierce combat. Supreme Commander Zixlor watched from his command center, his earlier confidence replaced by growing concern. The humans were not only holding their own, but seemed to be gaining the upper hand. Impossible, Zixlor muttered, his tentacles writhing in agitation. How could they have advanced so quickly without our notice? The answer came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now acting as humanity's chief scientific liaison, had managed to establish communication with the Galvan mothership. Her face appeared on the main view screen, calm and resolute. "You're wondering how we did it, aren't you?" she said, a hint of pride in her voice. "The truth is, we've been preparing for this moment for centuries." Elena explained that humanity's rapid technological advancement wasn't just the result of reverse engineering alien technology. It was the product of a uniquely human trait: adaptability. Every challenge we faced, every obstacle we've overcome, has made us stronger, Elena continued. We've turned our weaknesses into strengths. Our short lifespans. They've taught us to innovate rapidly. Our physical fragility. It's pushed us to create technology that augments our abilities. As if to demonstrate her point, a squad of human fighters swooped past the view screen. Their ships moved with impossible agility, effortlessly evading Galvan energy weapons. Zixlor watched in awe as the human pilots executed maneuvers that should have torn their fragile bodies apart. Neural interfaces, Elena explained, noticing Zixlor's bewilderment. Our pilots don't just control their ships, they become their ships. Every reflex, every instinct, translated into instant action. But it wasn't just in space that humanity was proving its worth. On the ground, Galvan invasion forces found themselves outmatched by human defenders wielding an array of ingenious weapons and defenses. In the streets of New York, nanite swarms disassembled Galvan battle tanks in seconds. In the skies over Tokyo, holographic decoys led alien fighters on wild goose chases, while real human aircraft struck from hiding. And in the deserts of Africa, terraforming engines turned the very environment against the invaders, creating sandstorms that jammed alien sensors and stripped the paint from their ships. Zixlor's subordinates were in a panic. "Supreme Commander," one of them chittered, "we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything we've ever seen. The humans are deploying weapons that defy our understanding of physics." As if on cue, a brilliant light flashed on the horizon. A Galvan dreadnought, large enough to house a small city, simply vanished. In its place was a perfectly spherical void in space, which collapsed in on itself a moment later. "Localized singularity generator," Elena said, her voice tinged with both pride and regret. "We hoped we'd never have to use it." Zixlor's mind reeled. The humans hadn't just been hiding their advancements. They'd been pioneering entirely new fields of science, and they'd done it all under the noses of the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. But why? Zixlor found himself asking. Why hide your true capabilities? Why allow yourselves to appear weak? Elena's expression softened slightly. "Because we hoped it wouldn't come to this. We've studied the stars for millennia, Commander. We knew we weren't alone. And we knew that when first contact came, it might not be peaceful. So we prepared, all the while hoping we were wrong." The implications hit Zixlor like a physical blow. The Galvan had spent centuries conquering lesser species, confident in their superiority. But here was a race that had anticipated their coming, that had prepared not just weapons, but entire branches of science, in secret. As reports of Galvan defeats flooded in from across the globe, Zixlor realized that this was more than just a military miscalculation. It was a fundamental shift in the balance of power in the galaxy. Your war, Elena continued, her voice now stern, has awakened something in us. Humanity has always been at its best when faced with adversity. You came here expecting to find easy prey. But instead, you've unleashed our full potential. At that moment, alarms blared throughout the Galvan mothership. Human forces had broken through their defenses and were boarding en masse. But these weren't just soldiers. They were scientists, engineers, and civilians, all equipped with technology that made them the equal of any Galvan warrior. Zixlor watched in disbelief as humans in powered exoskeletons tore through bulkheads, while others interfaced directly with Galvan systems, hacking them with ease. It was chaos, but there was a method to it. The humans weren't just fighting. They were learning, adapting, improving their tactics with every passing moment. As the tide of battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, Zixlor realized that this was more than just a defeat. It was the end of an era. The Galvan Empire, which had stood unchallenged for millennia, was facing not just a worthy opponent, but a superior one. Elena's voice cut through the chaos one last time. It's over, Commander. But this doesn't have to end in annihilation. We're prepared to offer terms. Zixlor, Supreme Commander of the mighty Galvan Empire, found himself in a position he'd never imagined. Considering surrender to a species he dismissed as primitive just days ago. As human forces secured the mothership and the last pockets of Galvan resistance on Earth were mopped up, a new chapter in galactic history was being written. Humanity, long hidden and underestimated, was ready to take its place among the stars. And the universe would never be the same. The tides of war turn. The aftermath of humanity's victory over the Galvan invasion force was not a time of rest, but of feverish activity. As the dust settled on battlefields across Earth, humanity's leaders gathered to discuss their next moves. The conference room of the newly established United Earth Defense Council buzzed with tension and excitement. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now hailed as the architect of Earth's victory, stood at the head of the table. "We've won the battle," she began, her voice grave. "But the war is far from over. The Galvan Empire spans thousands of worlds. They will not take this defeat lightly." General Zhang Wei, commander of the Asian Alliance forces, nodded in agreement. "We must strike while the iron is hot. The Galvan are reeling, their fleets in disarray. This is our chance to take the fight to them." The room erupted in debate. Some argued for caution, for fortifying Earth against future attacks. Others, emboldened by their recent victory, pushed for an immediate counteroffensive. It was President Amara Okoro of the African Union who finally brought order to the chaos. "We have an opportunity here," she said, her voice cutting through the din. "Not just to defend ourselves, but to reshape the galaxy. The question is, what kind of galaxy do we want to shape?" The room fell silent as the weight of her words sank in. Humanity stood at a crossroads. They could become conquerors, like the Galvan before them, or they could forge a new path. It was decided. Humanity would venture into the stars not as conquerors, but as liberators. The intelligence gathered from captured Galvan databases revealed a galaxy ripe for change. Hundreds of species labored under Galvan oppression, their worlds stripped of resources, their people treated as little more than slave labor. Within weeks, the first human liberation fleets were ready to launch. But these were no ordinary military expeditions. Alongside the warships and fighters were vessels carrying scientists, diplomats, and aid workers. Humanity had learned from its own history. They knew that lasting peace couldn't be built on military might alone. As human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in system after system, they were met with a mixture of fear, hope, and disbelief. Many worlds, hearing of the Galvan defeated Earth, had already risen up against their oppressors. Others were still firmly under Galvan control. On the forest world of Xylos, human forces fought alongside insectoid resistance fighters, using their adaptive technology to counter Galvan advantages in the dense, toxic jungles. In the asteroid fields of the Taurus cluster, human hackers worked with silicon-based life forms to disrupt Galvan mining operations, freeing countless slaves. But it wasn't just military victories that marked humanity's advance. On Proxima Centauri, the Earth's nearest exoplanet neighbor, Dr. Rodriguez led a team of xenobiologists and environmental engineers in a daring experiment. Using modified versions of the terraforming engines that had defended Earth, they began to transform the barren world into a habitable oasis. This is the true power of humanity, Elena explained to a gathering of alien diplomats as they watched the planet's atmosphere shimmer with new life. Not our weapons or our ships, but our ability to create, to transform, to breathe life into the lifeless. The message spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Humanity wasn't just another conqueror. They were innovators, problem solvers, allies to the oppressed. World after world threw off the shackles of Galvan rule, pledging allegiance to the rapidly growing human federation. But the Galvan Empire was far from defeated. As news of their reverses reached the imperial throne world of Galvan Prime, the Emperor himself, Sci-Fi the Eternal, emerged from his millennia-long slumber. His rage shook the very foundations of the palace. "These humans," he snarled, his voice resonating with psychic energy that made his attendants cower. "They dare to undo the work of eons. They shall learn the true might of the Galvan, humanity's secret weapon." The void of space erupted in a dazzling display of destructive power as the Galvan Armada clashed with the combined fleets of the Human Federation. Emperor Sci-Fi's flagship, a colossal construct of gleaming metal and pulsing energy fields, dwarfed even the largest human vessels. Its weapons lashed out, each blast powerful enough to shatter a small moon. Aboard the HSS Unity, Dr. Elena Rodriguez gripped her command chair, her face illuminated by the holographic displays surrounding her. The ship shuddered as another Galvan barrage tested its shields. "Status report," she called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. Commander Zora Kvoth, a towering insectoid from Xylos, chittered a response. "Shields holding at 62%, Doctor, but we can't take much more of this punishment." Elena nodded grimly. The Unity, for all its advanced technology, was not designed primarily as a warship. Its true purpose was far more ambitious and far more dangerous. "Any word from the infiltration team?" she asked, her eyes fixed on a particular blip on the tactical display. "The Emperor's flagship. They've breached the outer defenses," reported Lieutenant Dax, a silicon-based life form from the Taurus cluster. His crystalline form shimmered as he interfaced directly with the ship's systems. "But resistance is heavy. They may not reach the core in time." Elena took a deep breath. It was time for their final gambit. "Initiate Protocol Omega," she ordered, "and open a channel to the Emperor." The main view screen flickered to life, revealing the imposing visage of Emperor Sci-Fi. His multiple eyes gleamed with malevolent intelligence, and the psychic weight of his presence was palpable even through the transmission. "Ah, the architect of my empire's humiliation." Sci-Fi's voice boomed, a mixture of rage and grudging respect in his tone. "Have you called to beg for mercy, human?" Elena met his gaze unflinchingly. "No, Emperor. I've called to offer you one last chance to end this peacefully." The Emperor's laughter shook the very fabric of space-time. "Peace? You dare speak of peace while your fleets burn and your worlds tremble before me? I am Sci-Fi the Eternal. I have ruled this galaxy for 1 billion years. What could you possibly offer me?" "Understanding," Elena replied simply. Before the Emperor could respond, alarms blared throughout his flagship. On a secondary screen, Elena watched as the human infiltration team, led by the grizzled veteran General Zhang Wei, fought their way into the heart of the massive vessel. "What is the meaning of this?" Sci-Fi roared. "You think a handful of your primitive warriors can defeat me in my own sanctum?" Elena allowed herself a small smile. "They're not there to defeat you, Emperor. They're there to enlighten you." At that moment, General Zhang and his team reached their objective, a pulsing, crystalline structure at the core of the flagship. As Galvan defenders closed in, Zhang activated the device they had brought with them. A wave of energy unlike anything seen before washed over the ship. On the view screen, Alina watched as confusion replaced rage in the Emperor's eyes. What is happening to me?" he stammered, his psychic presence fluctuating wildly. "We call it the empathy engine," Alina explained, her voice soft but firm. "Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to understand and connect with others. This device, it allows you to feel what we feel, to see as we see, to understand." The effect was immediate and profound. As the empathy engine's influence spread throughout the Galvan fleet, the battle came to a sudden halt. Ships hung motionless in space as their crews grappled with a flood of new sensations and perspectives. Emperor Xazorax clutched his head, overwhelmed by the torrent of emotions and memories. He saw through human eyes, the joy of discovery, the pain of loss, the strength found in unity. He felt the fear and determination of the species his empire had oppressed, and for the first time in eons, he felt something he had long forgotten: empathy. This is impossible," the Emperor whispered, his voice now stripped of its former arrogance. "How can you bear it? The intensity, the complexity." Alina's expression was one of compassion. "It's not always easy," she admitted, "but it's what makes us human. It's what drives us to explore, to innovate, to form connections across the gulf of space and species. And now, it's what will bring peace to our galaxy." As the empathy engine's effect rippled out across the stars, the greatest revolution in galactic history unfolded not with weapons, but with understanding. Galvan oppressors laid down their arms, overwhelmed by the weight of their victims' suffering. Long-standing conflicts between species dissolved as ancient enemies truly sought each other for the first time. In the days that followed, the galaxy underwent a transformation unlike any before. The Human Federation, with Earth at its heart, became a beacon of hope and cooperation. Species that had warred for millennia now worked together, combining their unique strengths and perspectives to solve problems that had once seemed insurmountable. And at the center of it all stood humanity, not as conquerors or overlords, but as facilitators, mediators, and friends to all sentient life. They had faced the greatest threat in galactic history and emerged victorious not through superior firepower, but through the very traits that the Galvan had once dismissed as weaknesses. As Alina stood on the observation deck of the Unity, watching the combined fleets of 100 worlds working together to rebuild, she reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a single blue planet, dismissed as insignificant, humanity had risen to reshape the very fabric of galactic society. "Dr. Rodriguez," Commander Kivoth's voice interrupted her reverie. "We're receiving a transmission. It's from Emperor Xazorax." Alina nodded, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension filling her. "Put him through," she said. The Emperor's face appeared on the screen, but it was changed. The arrogance was gone, replaced by a look of profound weariness and, surprisingly, hope. "Doctor," he began, his voice humbled. We, the Galvan people owe you a debt we can never repay. For eons, we thought ourselves the pinnacle of evolution, but you have shown us a better way. If you will have us, we would join your federation. Not as rulers, but as equals. We have much to atone for and much to learn." Alina smiled, feeling the weight of history in this moment. "We would be honored, Emperor," she replied. "Welcome to a new age of galactic cooperation." As the transmission ended, Alina turned her gaze back to the stars. The galaxy sparkled with possibility, a vast frontier of discovery and friendship waiting to be explored. And humanity, once dismissed as primitive and weak, would lead the way. The age of human ascension had truly begun, and with it, a new chapter in the cosmic story of life itself. A new galactic order, A decade had passed since the fateful battle that reshaped the galaxy. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Concord, once the seat of the Galvan Emperor, now buzzed with activity as representatives from thousands of worlds gathered for the decennial summit. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Concord, stood at the podium, her silver hair gleaming under the soft light of 100 alien suns. The chamber fell silent as she began to speak. "Friends, allies, fellow sentients," she began, her voice carrying the weight of the historic changes she had helped bring about. 10 years ago, we stood on the brink of annihilation. Today, we stand united, not just in peace, but in a shared vision for our future. The assembled delegates murmured in agreement. The transformation of the galaxy had been nothing short of miraculous. Worlds once stripped bare by Galvan mining operations now flourished, their ecosystems restored by joint scientific efforts. Trade routes that had once carried slaves and plunder now facilitated cultural exchange and mutual prosperity. "We have achieved much," Elena continued, "but our journey is far from over. New challenges await us, not as individual species, but as a galactic community." She gestured, and a holographic display sprang to life above the chamber. It showed a spiral galaxy, but not their own. "Long-range sensors have detected signs of intelligent life in the Andromeda galaxy," she announced. "We stand at the threshold of intergalactic contact." The chamber erupted in excited chatter. The prospect of encountering entirely new forms of life, with potentially radically different technologies and cultures, was both thrilling and daunting. "But before we reach out," Elena said, raising her hand for quiet, "we must ask ourselves, are we ready? Have we truly learned the lessons of our own troubled past?" From his seat in the chamber, former Emperor Kaizorax, now serving as a senior advisor to the Concord, nodded solemnly. The Galvan, under his guidance, had spent the past decade working tirelessly to make amends for their centuries of oppression. Their advanced technology, once used for conquest, now served the cause of galactic restoration. "Ambassador Rodriguez is right," Kaizorax said, his voice carrying the humility he had learned from the empathy engine. "We must approach this new frontier not with the arrogance of conquerors, but with the wisdom of those who have overcome their own darkness." The discussion that followed was lively and productive. Species that had once been bitter enemies now collaborated on plans for peaceful first contact protocols. The silicon beings of the Taurus cluster proposed advanced communication arrays to bridge the vast intergalactic distances. The bioengineers of Ilos suggested adaptable diplomatic corps capable of interfacing with truly alien biologies. As the summit progressed, it became clear that humanity's role in this new era would be crucial. Their adaptability, creativity, and capacity for empathy had already transformed one galaxy. Now they would help guide a united galactic civilization into an uncertain but exciting future. But it wasn't just on the grand stage of galactic politics that the impact of human ascension was felt. On countless worlds, the influence of Earth's culture, art, and philosophy had sparked renaissances of creativity and innovation. On the desert world of Arrakis VI, human literature had inspired a revolution in the local arts. Shakespearean dramas were reinterpreted through the lens of the planet's complex case system, breathing new life into ancient traditions. In the gas giant colonies of the Jovian Confederacy, human music had fused with the resonant harmonies of the native gas bag entities, creating hauntingly beautiful symphonies that defied traditional notions of sound. Even on Galvan Prime, the homeworld of the former oppressors, human ideas had taken root. Universities now taught courses on Earth history, drawing parallels between humanity's troubled past and the Galvan's own journey towards redemption. As the summit drew to a close, Elena found herself on the observation deck of the Concord station, gazing out at the star-filled vista. She was joined by Zora Kvoth, her old comrade from the battle that had changed everything. "Did you ever imagine it would turn out like this?" Zara asked, her compound eyes reflecting the starlight. Elena smiled, shaking her head. Never in my wildest dreams, she admitted. When we first looked up at the stars, we wondered if we were alone. Then we feared we might be conquered. But this is beyond anything we could have hoped for. Zara's mandibles clicked in amusement. You humans have a gift for underestimating yourselves, she said. The rest of us saw your potential long before you did. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. A junior diplomat, a young Galvan barely out of his larval stage, rushed onto the deck. Ambassador Rodriguez. Commander Kavoth, he exclaimed, his exoskeleton flushed with excitement. We've just received a transmission from the Andromeda probe. It's made contact. Elena and Zara exchanged a look of wonder and determination. The next great adventure was about to begin. As they hurried to the communication center, Elena's mind raced with possibilities. What new wonders awaited them in Andromeda? What challenges? What opportunities for growth and understanding? One thing was certain: whatever the future held, humanity and its allies would face it together. The legacy of Earth, its triumphs and tragedies, its art and science, its capacity for both great good and terrible evil, would serve as a guiding light as they ventured into the unknown. The age of ascension had given way to something even greater, the age of unity. And as the first messages from Andromeda began to filter through, Elena realized that the true meaning of being human, of being sentient, was not about conquering or dominating, but about connecting, learning, and growing together. As she prepared to address the Concord with news of this historic contact, Elena felt a profound sense of hope. The galaxy, no, the universe, was vast and full of wonders. And humanity, once a small spark of consciousness on a tiny blue world, now stood ready to embrace it all, arm in arm with countless alien allies. The adventure, it seemed, was only just beginning.